Okay, so Disney Plus Day has happened and we have got a jam-packed episode for you. So strap in and welcome to the Geek Week in Review.
The Geek Week in Review.
Hello and welcome back to Geek Week in Review with me, Jacob's Toys, and of course the wonderful one and only SuperSorrell. As you can see, we are missing Ryan Speaks Geek this week. He is missing in action, or AWOL, or however you want to put it. However, if you are listening on podcasts, then please check out all the description below and follow all those links. If you're watching on YouTube, the same applies. Like, share, subscribe, follow all of those things, and check the description for SuperSorrell's details and Ryan's details. What a week it has been. So Disney Plus Day, Sorrell.
Yes.
Disney Plus Day 21.
I know. Very busy one. A lot of stuff got announced.
It was.
Yeah, it was decent enough. I was excited for the stuff.
Lots to talk about and lots coming up for us to talk about. Let's talk about toys very quickly before we get into all the detail of like entertainment, because not a lot happened really on the toy front this week, did it?
No, since we last spoke, I think the Black Series 6-inch announced Ahsoka Tano for 6-inch, but we knew that was going to drop anyway.
We knew it was coming, yeah. We knew. After they showed us that 3/4 inch, we knew that the 6-inch version was coming. And it looks nice, I must admit, it looks nice. I'm debating whether I'm going to swap out the Ahsoka in my collection now for the live action one. I don't know yet.
Yeah, and they also gave us the Death Watch Mandalorian as well. So another Mando to add to the collection. The good for army building and what have you.
Yep. I love the Black Series. I mean, you know, I've made no kind of bones about it. I've kind of stepped back from the Black Series collecting. I've just got my little collection. But it does seem like the fan base for Black Series is very much hot and cold at the moment. There's a lot of people talking about kind of getting out of it, and there's a lot of people kind of talking about sticking with it. And I can't really put my finger on why.
I think we've gotten to the point where most of the major player figures have been released several times. There's very little that can do. Like Marvel's constantly moving forward and constantly creating new versions, new characters. Star Wars, is doing that, but just at a slower rate. We're having to wait for all the new things to drop. I think once Boba Fett drops and the Mandalorian next season, the Ahsoka series, Obi Wan Kenobi series, once all that kind of drops, I think people will jump back in. It's just at the moment there's like a little bit of a lull. Yeah, a lot of repaints, re-releases, repacks going on at the minute.
Yeah, I hope that there's because obviously, you know, the guys in toy production and stuff, they know what's coming and they know what they're working on. And I really hope that there's kind of a wave of new stuff as opposed to kind of very similar stuff, if that makes sense. So I think it will give a lot of the fans kind of that boost to kind of get back into it.
Yes, hopefully.
So let's talk entertainment then, because toys and figures is very quiet this week. And actually, before we do move on, I had a look at what was still due to drop this year. And there's not actually that much more to come, like to get in hand, delivery wise. So I think it's going to be a bit quiet on the toy front for the next couple of months. But
I just got my Marlin today delivered, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've got him in hand now.
What do you think?
He looks good. Hang on, let me get him.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
You didn't know he was a vampire, though. I wasn't aware of that.
Ah.
From the darkness, the vampire Marlin hunts Spider-Man in an effort to slay superheroes and feed on his powers.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, he looks badass.
I haven't yet got my I haven't, because I've got the whole wave coming, because Spider-Man, Marvel Legends, all the rest of it, but I haven't even been notified of it being shipped or processed or anything.
I didn't get the whole wave. As a part of my kind of doing what you're doing with Black Series, part of my stripping back of the Marvel stuff a little bit, he was the one that appealed to me the most. I skipped the rest of the range. I've only got Miles Morales to come from this wave now.
Yeah.
I kind of skipped the rest.
He is a very cool looking dude.
Well, I'm so pleased. I actually ordered 2 of these because I'm going to custom one. I'm going to make a Marvel's Dracula out of this because I think he's the perfect base for it.
Oh, 100%. I was just about to say, I'm so glad that they didn't just rehash that Hellfire Club body and they've actually created a new sculpt. I think that there's, you know, you're always talking about Dracula. I think there's definitely potential there on that buck.
Oh, definitely. It looks just like the traditional Dracula. All they would need is the big collar, and it would be Marvel's traditional Dracula.
Amazing. I'm excited. There's a few things. Although I think it was Dan at the Marvel Legends team did do a tweet out about saying about comic book collectors, like we haven't forgotten about you. So
yeah,
there's a hint there that we've still got a little bit more to come. So who knows? Who knows? There might be a few more pre-orders going on. I'm sure there'll be a Marvel Monday or a Star Wars Friday or something before the end of the year.
I've got a feeling something's coming soon. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I don't know. I can. It's just like we've still got two movies to come yet as well. We've still got Spider-Man to come this year, haven't we? Oh no, Morbius is next year now, isn't it? So it's just Spider-Man now.
Yep.
Before Christmas, surely something's got to come with that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And I sort of said on my, I've just filmed my haul video for this week that goes out tomorrow, and I just kind of said like, isn't it a bit strange that we've got the Vampire Morlun, and they've made sure they've called him the Vampire Morlun on the packaging. So we've got that, and Morbius is coming out very soon. Spider-Man's dropping very soon. This is part of the No Way Home wave.
Yeah, who knows?
Any little links there somehow?
Maybe. Excited. I'll tell you what, let's have a quick talk about Spider-Man then before we move on to the big bulk of Disney Plus. So Spider-Man No Way Home is still, at the time of filming, trailerless. We still haven't had the trailer. However, there is a lot of rumors circling the internet, and they're coming from quite legitimate sources that we are expecting to see that trailer Monday or Tuesday. So who knows? By this time next week, when we film next week's episode, we might be just squirming over all of the stuff that we saw in this trailer. But interestingly enough, there was a lot of talk as well. I don't know if you caught this, Sorrell, but there was a lot of talk that supposedly Marvel and Sony were disagreeing about what was going to be in the trailer. And that's one of the reasons why it was being held up. The rumors said that one of the studios, I can't remember, I think it might have been Sony, said that they didn't want to include the big reveal of extra people. And Marvel said that they did. And there was kind of an argument back and forth about that.
I definitely am. I'm with the party of I don't. If there is going to be other Spider-Man or other characters we've not yet seen or that we're speculating on, I'd like to see those happen in the cinema, not in a trailer. I want to go in and have my mind blown.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. It's people are talking about. Yeah,
it would be exciting to see, and I think it would blow up the internet. It would cause a meltdown, but. On the other hand, how cool is that? Imagine that noise in the cinema, especially if you're in an American cinema. Imagine that top of the noise that you're going to hear when you see all the Spider-Mans together, all the Spider-Men together.
It's going to be crazy.
Amazing.
It's everyone's saying, obviously, the hype around this film. I mean, the trailer, the teaser trailer, is the biggest viewed trailer of all time, or something, with like 350 million views. That's like goals for you there, isn't it? 350 million views. But
the fact that we got the poster this week as well.
Yeah, which I'm not convinced is the final article.
No, it's not. Definitely not. It's been edited, hasn't it? Heavily.
Yeah.
I think it's either been because Green Goblin's there in the distance, and I think there's a lightning strike and there's the sandstorm going on.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're missing Sandman and Electro there.
My guess is that there's another 2 posters that go either side of it that make up. That would be my guess. So that we have, because then you get the collectors that collect your posters. You could have a poster for either universes. Yeah.
Didn't think of it that way.
Yeah. Because if you were going to get another, so we've got 2 villains. You've got Doc Ock's arms, you've got Green Goblin in the background. If you were going to cram another 4 characters into that poster, they're all then behind him and he's not facing them. It doesn't make sense. Like, sort of like aesthetically, it doesn't make sense to me. But I think we're definitely missing something off of it. And I think that it's going to be part of a bigger picture. Do you remember the Odeon did those pictures, didn't they? Where it was like the mural. Yeah. So I think we're going to get something similar to that. That's my guess anyway. But I just hope that the hype isn't going to overshadow the realism.
That's always
or the realistic, worry.
I think, like we've said before, that happened for me with the last 3 Star Wars films. I think people's hype and people's imaginations are obviously better than what the writers can come up with usually, because nothing beats your imagination. Your story is always better than everyone else's. Of course. I think when that happens, it's hard for then a studio to try and live up to those expectations realistically. So I hope that doesn't happen here. Because like we say, in a few years, we're going to look back at all those Star Wars films and go, wow, they're amazing. But for now, I think some of us, like me, are a bit like, not a fan of those films. But in years to come, probably will be.
Yeah, 100%.
I hope that's not the same here with this film. I hope we kind of don't go in and feel deflated and then, all that hype's gone.
I would love to speak for the vast majority of people. But for me personally, because it's Spider-Man, because it's Marvel, and because of what those two entities mean to me as a person, whatever it is that they give to us, I'm gonna love it. I just know I am.
Did you hear Tom Holland's recent quote?
No, what was that one?
He said he did like an interview thing the other day, and he said that in this film, he said he can't. Obviously, he's very careful what he was saying, but he said that the characters are going to go through so much in this film that you're not going to be ready for it, and that it might upset long diehard fans of the franchise. Yeah, so he didn't give anything away, but he's kind of saying that things go down in this film. And this is, I think this might. When he said that, that's when I said to you, I think this is going to be his last outing.
No, see, I've had a theory on this. This is Jake's theories. I need like a little intro. My theory: Tobey Maguire's going to die.
Ooh, yeah,
that's my theory. Because, and possibly even Andrew Garfield as well. I don't know, but Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is much older than what we've seen. His version of Spider-Man, anyway. So the character in itself has to be at a stage in his life as Spider-Man or as Peter Parker that is towards the end of that journey. He's not going to be, and there are so many different kind of story arcs that they could pull from the comics, but he's not going to return as Spider. This is going to be his final outing as Spider-Man. Yeah. And I think that the same as what Hugh Jackman did with Logan and Wolverine, I think he's going to, as an actor, as a performer or whatnot, I think he's going to want some kind of
bow out.
Just kind of, it's not just going to be kind of a, hey, how you doing? Like it's got to be something big. And whether that's him taking out the Goblin or the Goblin taking him out, I don't know. But my theory is that he's going to die. And that's going to be the emotion, because all of us going into the cinema watching it are going to love all of the different Spider-Men for different reasons. And the only way that you could get a real shock value is if you kill one of them off, and they're not going to kill off their money maker at the moment.
And imagine if he does it, if he, like, as the portal's closing or something stupid, he pushes our Spider-Man through to get him back to his world, and you just hear Uncle Ben's voice ring out, great power comes great responsibility, Peter. Imagine that. Just chilling.
Mate. I don't, who knows? But then, it all depends on contracts and stuff, don't you? It all depends.
I thought maybe Andrew Garfield would die just because he was the least of the favorites, and the guy, Tobey Maguire, would then become the Peter B. Parker of this universe, like the older, beer-bellied, kind of out of shape Peter that's given up. Yeah, and that Tom Holland's got to then route, like, if there is a future movie, if it does stupidly well, and they're going to bring him back again for a Spider-Verse film, they could do very much what they did in the cartoon Spider-Verse movie and have him as the aging Spider-Man that's teaching the new Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, there's so many possibilities. So many possibilities.
So many, there's thousands of ideas that could happen.
I'm just massively excited. I can't wait. Whatever it is they give to us, that what they've shown us already has me so excited for the film. We know there's going to be multiple villains. We know they're going to be from different universes. We're pretty strong, in regards to there being extra Spider-Man. But even if there wasn't, even if it was just the villains from the other universes, that would be enough, like, for me to still be massively hyped. So there is so much going on with it.
I was talking to my brother, and he was saying, he sort of said the same thing as me, but how cool would it be if towards the end of the film you saw the red sort of circle appear and Peter walks through it, and we're expecting to see Doc Strange on the other side. And he said the same as me. How cool would it be if it was Madam Web? Because you're so expecting it to be Doctor Strange that when he steps through, that pop would be that it's her sat in that chair.
She is a character that they could introduce with such ease, because you could cast a relatively unknown actor, so it wouldn't cost much. And it would be such a callback to the comics, to the animated show, all that kind of stuff. So introducing Madam Web, I think if they're going through portals and Doctor Strange is opening something up, there's got to be some kind of link to her somehow. Even just a kind of a nod to that's where we're going with it. So, but yeah, who knows? Let's hope that by next week we can just go, this, who knows? But Monday, Tuesday.
Now that you've seen the Venom clip, and we could talk about it, it's been out a long time now.
It's been out long enough. We can talk about it.
So that moment in that post-credit scene where he suddenly transports somewhere, are we thinking that's Doctor Strange creating the the new whatever he does to the timeline? Do we think that that's that same moment and Venom's been pulled into the same universe that all the other characters are now being pulled into?
It could be, or it could be to do with what Loki did, right? Because remember Loki, all the branch timelines and stuff. So I think whatever it is that's happened, it's putting Venom in the same place. It's just kind of bringing them all together.
Yeah, I would love it if this next film tied everything together from Doctor Strange to all the other sort of universes and then Loki and Scarlet Witch. I hope if it just pulled everything nicely into like a cohesive storyline, that'd be awesome.
Well, that's the other thing. Talk about cohesive storylines. You've got to think of Marvel Studios as the TV shows, the films, and all the rest of it. Whatever it is that takes place in Spider-Man can't outweigh what's going to happen in Doctor Strange, because we already know that Doctor Strange ties in with WandaVision and potentially Loki as well. We know that Loki must tie into Ant-Man and the Wasp, the Quantumania, because obviously the Kang reference and stuff. So whatever it is that's happening in Spider-Man has to be definitive or has to somehow set something else up where they're not going to be required to attend. So that's where I'm trying to stay grounded with it, because there are loads of theories that could just go off on one, but then you think, you know what? I think I read that the runtime for Spider-Man is like 4 minutes longer than Endgame or something like that. It's a long film. But whatever it is that they fit into those 2 or 3 hours, it has to somehow conclude or at least be able to sideline so that you're not watching the next stuff going, oh, where's Venom or where's Tobey Maguire? Like it's got to have some kind of definitive conclusion. And that's where I think your Portals idea of people going back and I don't know. That's where I'm going with it.
I don't think we'll see Scarlet Witch until the next Doctor Strange film. I think she's literally written off now until the next Doctor Strange.
She's there for that. She's there for that.
And she's opening up the Darkhold and all that stuff. She's dealing with the dark arts now. So that's Doctor Strange territory, not Spider-Man territory.
No, exactly. And we're not going to see.
I think the Loki stuff might tie in with Spider-Man because they've said it'll all tie in together. So I mean, Loki timeline, the whole timelines thing must tie into this somehow.
Yeah, I think it will. I don't think we'll necessarily see Loki or anything like that.
No.
The guy charges 250 quid for a photo opportunity at a Comic-Con. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to show up in a film for less than a few million. So I don't think that they're going to go down that route. But
I think how cool would it be if we're all thinking that it's Doctor Strange that does this thing and changes Peter's thing? What if that was just a red herring and he does that, but nothing really changes? And it's the Loki thing that causes everything to change. And we're just assuming it's Doctor Strange right now. Doctor Strange doesn't mess up. He's not an idiot.
No, I think
something must happen.
We're looking into that trailer and it's essentially saying make everyone forget that Mysterio gave my identity away, and then all of a sudden it's a multiverse. And it's a trailer. We've got to remember it's a trailer. They're not; those two things don't necessarily tie in together. So I think we're going to see him kind of try to wipe everyone's memory, and it's not going to go to plan because of what Peter Parker does. So there'll be certain people that do remember, certain people that don't. Maybe like MJ might remember, but Ned might forget, or something like that. And then the multiverse side of it is all to do with the stuff that's happening either in Loki or in Doctor Strange with WandaVision and that. So I don't think that Doctor Strange has kind of created this rift. I don't think that's what we're watching.
No, definitely not.
And it would be too much of the same. You've seen WandaVision and it's the multiverse. Like she's created this kind of thing. We've seen Loki. The timelines were all over the place. And then all of a sudden, Doctor Strange does it as well. That's too much of a mess. Come on. Yeah. They don't need to all be doing the same thing. That'd be like having every character in Star Wars have a Millennium Falcon. Do you know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. Right, let's talk about Disney Plus Day. Because I've got a feeling next week's episode is going to be very Spider-Man heavy.
Yeah.
Should we start Marvel or Star Wars? It's up to you, Sorrell.
Star Wars, there was nothing to talk about. Let's be brutally honest. We had the Obi Wan sizzle reel.
Yeah, well, that came out the day before, didn't it? That dropped the night before, and it got me really excited because I was like, "Wow, concept art!" And Ewan McGregor, he looks aged, he looks cool. He's talking about obviously him and Darth Vader getting back together, and we saw that really cool concept art of them fighting. I was like, this trailer is going to blow Disney Plus Day apart. Like, there is nothing that can be shown that's going to outweigh this. And then they didn't show it. Nope. it was just
waiting for something.
It was literally like having an ace in the sleeve and folding. It was just like, so yeah, I was like, okay. And they didn't really announce because obviously Book of Boba Fett, we had the trailer for a couple of weeks back.
Yeah. There was no brand new news on Ahsoka. There was no news on anything. But just to remind people, Wednesday this week coming up is Life Day. It is the official Star Wars Life Day. Have they held back deliberately on the Black Series releases and the Star Wars news to maybe do a special this Wednesday for Life Day? It is Star Wars Christmas technically.
Yeah.
So
I think you're onto a good point there. I really do. I think it's, they had so much come out of Disney Plus Day. If you've got such a big day,
I would say it did the trick though, didn't it? Because it got every Star Wars nerd on the galaxy talking about it. Like me making that stupid video this afternoon, it got everybody tweeting going, "Where's Obi Wan Kenobi?" It got everyone saying it. So I mean, they knew what they were doing. They got the words Obi Wan Kenobi trending within minutes.
I even saw one of my friends the next day on the Saturday morning, and he's a big geek and everything like that, and massively into his Marvel and his Spiderman and that. And the first thing he said, he was like, "Oh, that was great, but where was Star Wars?" And I was like, "Hang on, I thought you were going to throw Marvel at me, and you're asking about Star Wars." You're right, everyone was talking Star Wars. But what did interest me as well is that they didn't live stream it like all the other platforms. Everyone else did it, so you literally had to be watching Twitter and YouTube and Instagram and stuff for those things to drop, so that sort of staying on top of what was coming out was quite difficult because. Like with a Marvel card, for example, all of a sudden, literally within the space of like 5 minutes, there was like 15 posts like announcing all the different stuff. So I was kind of hoping for a live stream or an event or something.
I was hoping for a DC fandom style event. That's what I thought it was going to be.
But I thought, especially with your own platform, like, okay, fair enough, it might be hard to do a live stream but they could have pre-recorded it and then just put it out on the platform at a certain time.
To be live.
No, because we knew what time it was all taking place. Like the times are out on the internet, so there was obviously like some kind of announcement going on somewhere, but they didn't.
Yeah, and they had all the trailers and things lined up. So I don't know why, like you say, they didn't just make a video package or just have a few little appearances here and there from people just introducing each one. Yeah, and then at least that would have been like a long thing to watch.
Although with that said, though, they have released a handful of things on the streaming site, like the like the Marvel card and stuff, and it's all very well done. And I must admit, I spent a couple of hours last night just going through and watching all the little bits. Did you watch the Simpsons Plusiversary episode?
I was
just like, this is just totally nothing, but it's amazing.
Yeah,
it was literally all the Easter eggs. Oh, there's that person. So.
It felt like Disney was just flexing their muscles at that point, going, "Look at all these characters we own." We own your childhood.
It was, wasn't it? It was. So let's talk Disney first. So all the Disney announcements, and then we'll get into the big old Marvel, because there's a lot to talk about Marvel. So let's talk about those Disney announcements. Which one stood out for you the most? Which was the one that you hyped up the most for you?
So obviously they gave us the original Enchanted movie and Jungle Cruise to watch on demand, because those are getting sequels. We know that. We're getting Disenchanted.
That I'm very excited for.
Enchanted.
I think that'd be great.
Mm-hmm. Then they announced Cheaper by the Dozen, a random remake apparently.
Yeah.
There was the new Home Alone, which if you've watched it, please don't.
See, I haven't. Is it not good?
So mate, that child used to be locked up in an asylum.
Wow.
The things he puts them people through is just nuts.
Speaking of Home Alone, very quickly, because Macaulay Culkin is on the new series of American Horror Story.
He is.
Yeah, you a fan of that?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Massive fan. And I think he's brilliant in it. I really do. But Macaulay Culkin is Macaulay Culkin. Do you know what I mean? And in my head, I'm kind of looking at it and going, this is the kid from Home Alone. And this is where he ended up. Like this is the situation he ended up in. But I think when you go back to the kind of the 80s and even the 90s with some of the sequels, the stuff that he got away with was very 80s and 90s. Yeah. And you could kind of look at that little rapscallion. Whereas you put it in a modern thing, it's like, no, that kid's got issues. Like someone, so
staple gunning people to the wind. Yeah,
yeah. It doesn't work for me. It's not one that I'm overly. I'll probably watch it if I'm bored, but I'm not rushing out to see it.
Then obviously they had Ice Age. They've got a new Ice Age film coming out, which is weird to come out of Disney. I always thought Ice Age was to do with Shrek and that. I didn't realize it was.
It was. It's DreamWorks. DreamWorks is Ice Age. That was the one that got me the most, because I hadn't read anything about them taking over that. That was almost like a oh, Disney have taken over another thing here, but we don't even need to announce it. We're just going to tell you when the movie's out, sort of thing. But
I didn't
I'm
realize
pleased.
Disney had taken over that studio, though. I knew Fox had come, but I didn't realize that they'd taken over half of Universal as well.
I don't think they've taken DreamWorks as a whole, but I think maybe just the Ice Age franchise. But I'm really pleased. Ice Age is a film series that in our house is kind of all the kids have gone through it at some point, because there seemed to be a film out every year or so. So I'm really pleased to see that one back. I'm not going to lie.
Then we had Baymax announced.
Brilliant.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Yeah.
Hocus Pocus 2, they put a quick little picture out, which they look pretty good, to be fair. But I was expecting worse than that.
I was really shocked, actually. I mean, I'm massively excited for Hocus Pocus 2. But what's her name? Sarah Jessica Parker. Like, I honestly thought, because in Hocus Pocus, I had a massive crush on her. She was it was, and I thought she was going to look aged, but I saw that picture and I was like, you know what, actually, you look like you did in the film. It's like,
they managed to really do a decent job of making them look good.
I'm back on board. But yeah, they all look cool. I would have liked to have seen a trailer or at least a little teaser or something.
They did on Halloween, they just put out the Black Flame candle relighting.
Yeah.
That was kind of the sneak kind of preview thing for it. That's all they've kind of done so far.
Yeah. And old what's her name's going to sing in it. So they could have just they could have even just put her singing as that would have done it for me. But no, I was pleased with that one.
Live action Pinocchio with Tom Hanks apparently, and Luke Evans is coming.
Yeah.
I
see. I like them. They don't replace the originals for me. Like, I'm a big Disney book fan, like, kids are as well. But I don't know. There's something quite magical about the live actions ones. I don't like Jungle Book for me was
Jungle Book
fantastic.
Was good. I like that.
That was enough for me to kind of go, I'm going to give every one of them a try. But I haven't watched Dumbo. I haven't looked at that one yet.
All right.
I haven't seen that one yet, but I don't know. I'd like to see Pinocchio. I just want to see that. I want to see how they're going to make like little boys smoke and play cards and turn into donkeys. Like, if they turn that into live action, happy days. That was a legitimate fear of mine when I was a kid. I'm not going to lie. That if I was naughty, I was going to get turned into a donkey. I was scared of that for a good year. Like,
making an ass of yourself, literally.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm
still not.
Sorry, go on.
I said I've still not turned into a donkey, so I'm obviously all right.
Then they obviously did Cars on the Road again.
Yeah, a bit over Cars.
Yeah. Then something random that's coming out that's new from Pixar is Win or Lose.
Yeah.
Don't know too much about that. Zootopia, I've got to admit, I'm excited to see a new Zootopia. I do like the Zootopia idea of the franchise. So
no, they're good.
Bringing that should be good. Then it was the Disney, they're making a Tiana TV series. Apparently going to be a musical TV series.
That's cool. Princess and the Frog was one of my favorite ones. Princess and the Frog was one of my modern favorites. I'm not going to lie. I love the music in it. I love the vibe of it. So I'm quite excited about that. I'm not going to kind of book any time out to watch it, but I'm pleased that they're doing it.
I think the one though that stood out for me as like my favorite announcement would probably be Disenchanted out of all that, to be honest. I really liked Enchanted. It was a poke at Disney, and a bit of a fun sort of like taking the mick out of it. So I'm enjoying to see what they're going to, if they're going to do that same thing but about sequels.
Yeah,
because obviously this is the equivalent of a straight to DVD release, basically, isn't it? So I hope that's kind of where they go with it and they poke some fun at that.
But that seems to be like the way forward at the moment, because obviously, even just the other day, we had Red Notice drop on Netflix, just kind of sidetracking a bit, but we had that drop, which is, Gal Gadot, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, like big cast, big money, and it's turned out to be the biggest Netflix premiere film of all time or something. We had what was it, the Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt drop on Amazon Prime. So they are, I think this whole kind of straight to DVD is almost a phrase of the past now, isn't it? Because of streaming sites, that's not seen as a negative anymore. Yeah. So
I think people like the Disney Plus and the Netflix having their own things that they're launching themselves on the service that's only available on that service, I think has taken away from that idea of, it's come straight to streaming. I think it's that idea is now gone, because sometimes things only go to streaming and they're really good, like Stranger Things. And you know what I mean? There's been a lot of things that have come out of Netflix that we wouldn't have had otherwise. So
no, I totally agree.
So I think like you say, it's definitely the way forward, and the cinema's dying. Let's be honest. Most people are waiting for Shang-Chi to drop on Disney. I know a lot of people that didn't go.
No, I know.
And I know a lot of people that have been see Eternals and have said, man, they're just gonna wait for it to drop on Disney now.
Yeah, I know we were like with Shang-Chi, there was obviously the pandemic stuff going on for a lot of people as well. So, you know, people are still getting vaccinated. So I can kind of forgive them with that. But
I think Spider-Man's going to be the next big draw for the cinema.
Spider-Man, massively. Interestingly enough, though, my brain went somewhere yesterday. In the thing that I think with all of this kind of straight to stream kind of releases, one thing I've really noticed is the kind of bootleg versions are really non-existent now. But do you remember back in the day when it was all DVDs, you'd have the big film in the cinema, and then in HMV, there would be about 5 or 6 versions of that film, or something similar with a very different title. Like
Annabelle, there was about 1,000 Killer Doll movies all appeared at once.
My favorite one was when Happy Feet came out, and there was a tap dancing penguin cartoon film called Tappy Feet. And I just remember looking and being like, HMV, are you not embarrassed to to stock this? But that seems to, and I loved a good B movie. Don't get me wrong, I used to love my B movies, but they really seem to be a bit of a thing of a past now. But there we go. I'm with you on that though. Enchanted or Disenchanted, I'm definitely excited for that. I do love the first one, so yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes with it. And that's about it, wasn't it, for the actual Disney stuff?
Was it obviously Disney? Disney's kind of not really announced any movies through that service. That it was literally just Disney Plus, wasn't it? So nothing big got announced from Disney's studios, so to speak.
So let's go Marvel. Then. Yeah. So we had. First of all, I'm looking at my slate down here. That's why I'm looking down the bottom. We had a teaser for Moon Knight, didn't we? We got a teaser for that. I'm really excited for Moon Knight. Do you know much about the character?
Not a lot. That's why I'm excited to see it. But I know he's more to do with the occult side of the Marvel universe. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing that and where they go with it.
I don't want to spoil too much for you, but there's a lot to do with his mental well-being and mental stability and stuff. There's lots going on there. Obviously, there's the Egyptian tie-ins and stuff, but he's just a really cool character. People often, when they put them side by side, you would put like Batman and Moon Knight kind of side by side. That's how people did it. Not because he was like this big playboy billionaire or anything like that, but just because of the kind of the in the shadows. But he's and from the comic books that I remember, he was very violent. He was kind of like no excuses, no kind of apologies. And I think it's going to be a really good one. And he's had various different costumes over the years, but the glimpse that we got looks like we're getting the kind of all white one. And there's something very kind of sinister about that costume for me. Reading it in the comic book, there always was. It was very, when I was younger, it was very like ghost-like. Do you know what I mean? Like it looked like a ghost. It looked like a kind of something supernatural. So I'm really excited for that. And I think the trailer, I don't think it gave enough away for people who don't know about Moon Knight to get excited. But I think it gave enough away for anyone that does know about Moon Knight or enough about them to get excited, if that makes sense. Yeah. But I'm sure we'll see some more in the future. She-Hulk was another one that we got a little teaser for. Obviously, we're
her and Bruce Banner together.
Bruce Banner back. Yeah, that was cool. I was surprised that she's not. When I first saw it, I thought it was like a rip-off, like a knockoff trailer, like these concept ones, because it literally looks like someone's coloured in an actress green. Yeah. I expected her to be bigger. She
didn't look bulky enough for me to be She-Hulk.
No,
she looked like when she got. I can imagine that when she's in, if they're going to go down the route of her changing human form to and doing the transformation, then I mean, there's not going to be much difference between regular She-Hulk and the She-Hulk.
No, maybe
isn't it Jennifer Walters? Sorry.
Yeah, maybe they're going down that route. But it reminded me very much of the kind of Lou Ferrigno kind of old TV Hulk, where it was like
a painted person.
Yeah, it was kind of like you knew that this was another actor that was just painted up like. But I don't know. I mean, from what I could tell, the costume looked quite accurate. It all looked very good. Jennifer Walters is a character that I don't really have a live action version in my head, if that makes sense. Like, I know what she's like on the page, so I'm kind of open to whatever, and I think it's going to be enjoyable. But I'm glad that Bruce Banner's obviously involved, and there's a lot of other characters that are involved that we haven't seen in that trailer. So, like Abomination, for example, is involved, and obviously Shang-Chi's been out long enough now, and we did get a taste of Abomination there, but he's not, doesn't move the plot along at all. It's literally just he's still here, so that we know that he's showing up in She-Hulk, and
the fact that She-Hulk's a lawyer. I'm going to say it again. She-Hulk's a lawyer.
You're owning this one, aren't you?
Hopefully. Supposedly Daredevil's been seen to be a part of the new Spider-Man movie as Peter Parker's lawyer. Could this be the start? How cool would it be if when Peter Parker is in? I'm going off a tangent again. If Peter Parker's in the courtroom, and he's Matt Murdock stood at the side of him and stuff, and we see that, and we're all excited to see Matt Murdock. How cool would it be if the opposition was Jennifer Walters? How cool would it be to see her the first time you see her is in Spider-Man, all greened up in the courtroom?
Even if we don't see her all green, it'd be a great way of
Jennifer Walters. Yeah.
They've got to include it. If there's any courtroom scenes at all in Spider-Man, they've got to have a nod to Jennifer Walters. They've got to link it in. They have to,
or at least just have her walking down the corridor opposite Matt Murdock or something, and just have a general nod to the character. That would be cool as well. Just as an introduction.
100%. Obviously, we saw Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel looks really cool.
I like that her first costume in the series is going to be based for Captain Marvel's, like a rip-off of Captain Marvel's costume.
Yeah.
Not the traditional blue, which we know she gets later on because we've seen the posters and stuff.
Yeah, but that's the Khan character. That's obviously what she does, isn't she? She's a big Captain Marvel fan. So I'm glad that they've kind of gone down that route of, I've got these superpowers. I dress up as my super. I think I'd do the same. I think if I got superpowers all of a sudden, I'd put on a Spider-Man outfit or a Superman outfit or something like. So I think it's gonna be a good one, and
I would love the fact if that literally was a dress-up costume, like she goes into a literal costume shop and she's looking through, and she even if there's like a stupid joke where she sees the Spider-Man costume and throws that to one side and then picks up the Captain Marvel one, they could make some serious comedy out of that, like Iron Man suit. That would be a lot of fun. That would be a lot of fun. I hope that they use it as an opportunity to kind of introduce us to that side of the universe as well, because obviously, it's a much younger superhero. It's a much more kind of grounded story. And there's a lot of options to kind of introduce us to some other characters there as well. So I hope that they don't just have it as a standalone thing. I know that obviously later on it ties in with the Marvels, as Marvel Studios presents, Marvel Studios presents Captain Marvel, the Marvels.
Yeah.
How many times do you get the word Marvel in a sentence?
So I hope that they do something with her. I really do. But it was enough of a trailer. I mean, none of the trailers were really fleshed out and long. The only one that we got a long trailer for was obviously Hawkeye, because that's coming in 2 weeks, week and a half.
Me excited. I've got to admit, that did get me excited.
Yeah,
seeing them two together, buddying up and stuff, that looked awesome.
I'm massively excited for Hawkeye. And one thing I forgot until just the other day, I think it was actually yesterday, is the whole end credit scene of Black Widow. So we know that that is going to take place, because everything in the trailer, nothing alludes to that at all.
Nope.
Nothing alludes to that part of the story at all. So that's obviously going to play a part somehow. But yeah, I just think, I hope Kate Bishop kind of does take over and kind of takes the mantle, and she's now our version of Hawkeye moving forward, because obviously Clint Barton's going to retire. He's got to step back.
That would be nice, because obviously we've just handed off, the Black Widow character to the sister. Then we get the daughter, Kate Bishop. We're slowly getting the next generation that are going to carry the mantle of these characters for the next however many years. You know what I mean? Until the next people take over. I kind of like that passing of the torch moment. And then when we see imagine how cool it's going to be in a few years' time when we see them all unite again, and it's all these new characters that are, Avengers, you come together, sort of thing, Avengers Assemble.
Yeah.
And
awesome. Obviously, we had the same with Captain America as well, didn't we? That's obviously taken over, but I'm excited. I'm excited.
Do the same with Hawkeye. I mean, the one thing nobody talked about is this his bow out because She-Hulk's coming in? Is it a case of is he going to help her learn to control the powers, and then is he backing out? Is that him done? Because he's not a young man any pains.
No, that's interesting.
The actor's not a young man, so I mean, this could be his swan song as well.
There is a lot of talk about a World War Hulk film taking place, or a Planet Hulk film taking place. So, but they're all just speculation and rumors at the moment.
Isn't the licensing issues to do with Hulk and making a Hulk movie? Because that's why they could have Hulk as a character, but they couldn't have a standalone Hulk movie because of the studio rights. There was something to do with that, if I remember. Yeah,
it was. And that's why the original Incredible Hulk was done by a different studio, but it's still Marvel Studios. Yeah, you're spot on there. But then, at the time that Incredible Hulk film took place, how many, like Marvel have them all back now, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
I was surprised that we didn't get any kind of nod towards Fantastic Four or nod towards X-Men or anything like that, live action X-Men or Fantastic Four.
Because they're not Disney Plus, they're going to be Marvel Studios directly as a film. So I don't think they were announcing anything that was film related here.
That's a good point,
this is
actually.
Totally Disney Plus, isn't it? These are all Disney Plus television series. They didn't announce anything like Disney Studios didn't put out anything for some of their films. These were just all things that were coming to the service.
You know what? Actually, that I think is the biggest difference between this year and last year. Last year they just kind of threw everything at us.
Yeah.
Whereas this is all service, isn't it? Okay, so let's talk about what things that they did mention. So, Agatha, House of Harkness. Oh, okay. What if? No. Let's go. What if?
Sorry, I was going on my list then. Sorry, I assume you look at the same list as me.
No, I think I had, but I think it might be backwards. But what if season 2? What if we all knew it's happening? We all knew it's coming. Yep. I'm down for that. I am down for that. I don't know if I want to see more than 2 seasons. I think I don't want them to just keep fleshing this out. I think maybe 2 seasons would be enough for me. Because I don't think you can introduce too many stories that are different to the main stories, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, another one maybe.
I think this was just. If I like, I know with what, because I watch a lot of these things with my brother and my dad at my parents' house. We kind of, it's like kind of like our thing that we watch together. And I was thinking, like, was the what if kind of idea a way of introducing people to the idea of a multiverse that don't know what a multiverse is? Because there's a lot of newcomers to the franchise that didn't read the comics. They don't understand how Marvel works, like the 616 and all that. So is this their way of saying, look, there's all these other things going on, and anything could happen, infinite amount of ideas. This kind of introduces people to that concept.
100%. Because also what was interesting is that obviously Marvel What If is a comic book, a comic book. But this was a Marvel What If based on the movies. So obviously none of these were the comic book, like the comic. I remember What If Spider-Man became the Punisher and, all that kind of stuff. And this was all based on the MCU. So this very much is, it's not a case of look at this cool concept that we have. Look at this really cool kind of story arc we have with certain characters. This was a multiverse for the MCU. And obviously it brought back the talent of various different artists. And so, yeah, I completely agree. So I think maybe season 2 will be just an extension of that. That's just kind of, there were so many stories that people kind of were like, oh, I want to see more of that. Or where does that one go? And I think it will be a continuation of that. I think you said that previously that if we got a season 2, that's what you'd want.
I think they'd introduce like maybe another couple of storylines, but I think they would basically like people want to know what happened next for Captain Carter, and people want to know what happens next to Party Thor and all these weird people they've just introduced. And like the zombies, people want a second episode. What happened next when they got to Wakanda? Did they find a cure?
Yeah, that's true. What I'd like to see is them do a What If season 2 based on characters that we haven't yet seen. So a couple of the other MCU characters, and just kind of give us those stories. But then obviously you talk about Marvel Zombies, but then they obviously announced Marvel Zombies as a series, an animated series. And I'm actually going back and rereading the Marvel Zombies comic. And I remember it being violent and gory and very much The Walking Dead in spandex. But having reread it, there's no way this is going to be based on the comic book. This is going to be what we saw.
I don't see this is where I'm separating it, because they've used the original logo for zombies. They've not used the What If style logo to make it a part of the What If. So I think this is Marvel Zombies. It'll be very different from what we've had previously. But I don't think this is like a lot of people are thinking this is a continuation of that episode. I don't think it is. I just think it's the idea of Marvel Zombies told differently over a longer period.
So like a completely different version of anything we've had. Yeah, that would work. Because I was very much the same. I was like, it's the original logo. It's got to be the comic book. I need to go back and I need to reread it, because I remembered the story, but I was like, I need to go back and reread it. But then I got it's 5 issues long, I think. And I got to like the 3rd or 4th issue, and I was like, there's no way they're going to put this out on Disney Plus. Like,
not the amount of gore, hadn't it?
No, it's and even to the extent of like, spoilers for anyone that hasn't read it, but the whole thing with Galactus, and it's just it was that scene where, and I don't know how long ago you read it, but it was the scene where Bruce Banner is kind of gone, or the Hulk has turned back to Bruce Banner just after they've fed, and then his stomach's just falling apart because of all the meat inside him, and it's just like, there's no way they can do this. They just can't do this. It's like, and Spider-Man's legs just hanging off, Captain America's brains hanging out his head, and I'm just like, no way. It's like, they're not going to slap the mouse on this. Like, it's just, so it'd have to be a very watered down version. So I
think
agree.
This is a way to introduce like Ryan Reynolds as the voice of Headpool. We kind of mentioned that before. This would be a way of introducing Ryan Reynolds as Headpool and things like that. If they did bring in some of the MCU cast to do the voices, that'd be cool. If not, fair dues. But they could really go to town with that and have some fun with it if they played it right.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. So that's obviously What If and Marvel Zombies. As I mentioned, Agatha, House of Harkness.
Yeah.
No trailer, no kind of, literally just a logo. And it was very purple. It was very Agatha. I'm excited for that. I think the further away from WandaVision I get, the less hyped I am about the character of Agatha. I know I'll be excited once she's back on the screen, but I hope that not too much time has passed, because she was massive, wasn't she? When WandaVision came out, everyone loved Agatha. And I hope that not too much time is between the two, that she's going to lose some of those fan base. I hope they kind of all pulls it back in.
If they don't use that as the theme song, I'll be very upset. If the episode is known with
it's but I wonder whether it's going to be. And then here's my theory with this one, and I forget the actress's name. It's always beyond me, but she's very much a comedic actress. She does a lot of comedy films. She's very, very funny, and I wonder whether Agatha's going to be more of a comedy spin as opposed to a diehard serious. Because when I first saw it, I thought, well, Witch of Salem, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be dark. It's going to be gritty. It's going to be Agatha. But then I thought, actually, thinking about the period stuff again, if you think it very much like the Addams Family, the Munsters and all that kind of stuff, like if it was on that kind of spin where they kind of did it with more of a comedy, that would work very, very well, I think. And that's where I think they're going to go with it.
I'm sticking with my original theory that I said. I think she's telling stories to, I think at the end you might find it's one of the the kids from the Fantastic Four, one of the Richards. What do you call him? Young kid.
Yeah.
She was the nanny for him in the comic books.
Yeah, Franklin.
Yeah. Or you eventually find that she's the one that she's still or you eventually find out that she's still in control all along, and there's that theme song played again. She's still in.
Yep. And obviously, by the time this drops, this will be, I assume, will be after Multiverse, and we've seen the kind of Wanda story round up and that. So it kind of has to be a bit of a standalone. But obviously, she's still stuck in WandaVision, isn't she? She's back here as that character. So it either needs to be completely separate, or it needs to kind of answer some of the questions left there. But I do think it's going to be a comedy thing, a comedy sketch.
She's a powerful, in the comic book, she's a very powerful witch. And I don't know. There was something in the TV series about casting a spell on another witch, but there's a way of it not taking effect.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if, because obviously she's a very manipulative, character, and the idea of her is the fact that she's she was in control all along, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm wondering whether that'll be the spin on it, and that we think she's been put back, but she's playing up to the character, and secretly she's still plotting and scheming revenge or whatever.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that they're definitely going to lean heavily into the success of the show as opposed to the character in the comic book. So
Oh,
I think that's but who knows? Who knows? Hopefully we'll get some more on that soon. Where should we go now? Echo.
I don't know too much about that. I don't know what that even is. Is that based on Eternals?
No, character in Hawkeye that we're getting introduced to in Hawkeye. I'm not going to say anymore. I'm not going to say anymore because, you'll be introduced to them in Hawkeye, and it's interesting that they've announced a series for them already. But Ironheart. Again, we've not had anything about that, about Riri Williams. We just know who's been cast. We know that the series is happening. I thought the logo was quite cool. I'm interested to see how this ties in with what obviously has happened with Endgame and everything, because obviously she's a genius herself and builds her own Iron Man suit in her dorm room, and has like an AI of Tony Stark in one of her suits and all this kind of stuff. So there's so much that they could do. But I think if I was going to guess, I think it will be very post Endgame, and it will be she'll fangirl a little bit about Tony Stark and obviously his sacrifice, and she'll go out to kind of do her, her legacy and stuff. As long as we get the pink suit, that's all I care about. I want to see that pink suit. Animated show, I Am Groot.
Yeah,
I
don't get what they can do with that, to be honest.
I don't know what they're going to do with that.
Because on the logo, they're showing Baby Groot again, but in the films, he's now adolescent Groot.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to do with that.
And they said it was animated, but obviously the Groot that we've seen on the logo is, as you say, is the MCU Baby Groot. So is it going to be like a CGI animation, or is it going to be an actual animation?
If it was just him and Rocky Raccoon, then technically it would be animation. If they just made it a CGI about them too, it would literally be CGI, wouldn't it? Just be animation.
Yeah.
I hope the galaxy.
I've got a feeling it will be kind of little sort of sub stories of what Groot gets up to on the ship and stuff like that. So it will take place within the timeline of what we've seen and within the movies we've seen, and it'll be him getting into little, like fighting little aliens and going on little adventures within the films, if that makes sense.
I'm wondering whether it's nothing to do with any of that, and it's just going to be shorts. Like a bit like what they've just done with Olaf. Yeah, they've given him his own little TV series, but each episode was about 2 minutes long. I wonder if it's just going to be that, and like say it's just him running around the ship doing stupid stuff, dancing and just doing silly little things that's going to make kids laugh.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I can't see them spanning each. It's all he says is "I am Groot," for God's sake. How can they span that out into 30 minutes an episode or something? It just wouldn't hold people's attention.
No, I'm calling it now. There'll be a Grogu series next year. just the I Am Grogu. All right, Secret Invasion. We saw a glimpse of Samuel Jackson's Nick Fury, all grizzled and big grey beard and whatnot, and he looks badass. But I must admit, right? I was thinking about his contract with Marvel. So he was right back at the beginning. He was in Iron Man 1.
He was in the first film.
And all of these other actors have ducked out or contracts have expired and stuff. And here he is, like literally the face of this new TV show that's not even out yet. What can they do with it? I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea.
The films might build to this. Obviously, we've only seen a couple of little things so far about the Skrulls and what they're doing here, and maybe the next few films and stuff will flesh it out for us. Because it's got to lead into it somehow. All these things have got to come together to lead into it.
Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah. I'm kind of, the jury's out on that one for me. It's the same as some of the other shows like Armor Wars. They didn't even mention this year round. But we know that that's kind of in the works, but I have so little idea of what they could do with it that, Secret Invasion something I would have liked to have seen as a film.
For all
based
we
on
know,
the comic books.
Secret Invasion may still take place after Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
By the time it comes out. So, I mean, we could have a lot more answers by then. Fantastic Four, the Skrulls were their major villains, really, weren't they?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
no, I think you're right. I think it's so far down the kind of list that's why we didn't get anything. They gave us that little shot of Samuel Jackson just to kind of keep us intrigued. All right, so there's 2 more announcements, and I think that I think they were the biggest ones. Spider-Man freshman year. So do you know about this one? What it is?
So it's an animated original series.
Yeah.
Based on Spider-Man.
Based on Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah, the MCU Spider-Man, yeah.
So we're basically going to get his origin story in this. That's the hint. Okay. So all of that kind of stuff that we haven't seen, this is what I've been told anyway, that this is going to be based on the kind of untold story that we've not seen in the films. So, that could be completely wrong.
How he started working with Tony Stark and and how he turned up in Civil War and stuff.
But there's also so much about the Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man, that yes, we know has happened, but we haven't actually seen. So we never saw how he got his powers. We never saw Uncle Ben. We never saw all of that stuff.
You didn't need to see it. That's why.
No, but they've now got an opportunity to put that out as an animated show, give us that canon kind of backstory, and make a load of money off in the same time as well. So that would be my guess. It'll be something because then they're not going to need a huge script and writing team because it's all written, it's all there. It'll be very easy to put together. But I think it's amazing. I think it's really cool. I'm really excited to see the animated version of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Let's just hope that the head sculpt on the figure is a bit better than the one on the What If toy. I like that head sculpt. Not for it to be a Tom Holland, but for it to be a random head sculpt. I didn't mind it. But and then the final one that I suppose was probably the one that broke the internet, that I had zero idea was happening. Zero. If I was a gambling man, I would never have put this down as a bet. But X-Men 97, season 6 of X-Men the animated series is coming back, which is incredible, which is fantastic. What did you think? What was your initial thoughts when you first heard it?
When I first heard it, I got excited, but then I had some things. I hope they bring back some of the original cast.
Yeah,
some of the original writers. Are they going to be able to recapture what made it good?
Yeah.
Are they going to try and babyfy it too much nowadays? Back then, they got away with doing a lot of decent storylines that were very comic book based, that were quite serious. It's stories, really.
Yeah.
Could they get away with that modern day standards?
Well. Hang on. I'm just going to bear with me. I'm just getting something up.
Yeah, because Disney gave us a look at kind of X-Men and the animated stuff a little while ago, didn't they? Because I got that Talking Wolverine on my channel, and then Disney made that play set that looked very much in the style of. Was that the idea for it back then? Did they know about it this long ago? It's been in the works. Is that how they're going to look now? Do you think?
Yeah,
there were a few changes.
I'm just coming to it. I hope that they keep the theme song. I'll be well disappointed if they didn't keep the theme song. Bear with me 2 seconds. I'm just getting something cut.
The theme song made it iconic.
Yeah. Hang on. But yeah, I do know that they are getting back the voice talent.
Oh, good.
But obviously there are certain people that aren't with us anymore. There are certain characters that then can't be voiced. What I've been told is that we are getting the voice cast back of the original people that are still around, and they are going to be introducing some new characters as well. So we are going to get some new characters, and the directing and Eric and Julia Luard, who produced the original series, they are consulting on this now. So it's not that they're going to be producing it, but they're going to be consulting it.
At least consulting
it was but the same as well for Larry, what was his name, Larry Houston, who directed the original series. He's as well consulting on it as well. So they have producers, they have directors for it, but they are calling back the original people that made it happen to obviously to consult on it. And then obviously the voice talent as well, like Cal Dodd. Cal Dodd is back as Wolverine. He's like,
I'm very intrigued to see whether they keep it as is it a direct continuation, or is there going to be some time has passed and that explains why their voices are slightly different now? Because there's no way they could make it so it was like the next day after that last episode. They've got to explain like time has passed and something's got to have changed a little bit. I think.
And it's sure the animation itself is going to be different, isn't it?
So I'm hoping it's a continuation of the characters and the story, but told in a new way, maybe.
Yeah, I'm actually just looking something because if I say it, I don't want to say the wrong thing, so I'm just looking something up. Yeah. No. So yeah. So it's 5 series of X-Men, but then the last series is very. It doesn't work. Like it's very the storylines, and it was all to do with how they were shooting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can't just be a direct continuation. But I think if I'm honest, I think what will happen is that it will be a continuation, but not a next day continuation.
Yeah.
And in all fairness, I can't speak for the other guys, but when I spoke to Cal Dodd earlier in the year, like he was dropping in and out of the voice on that interview, and he still has it. Like it's still Wolverine. So I'm sure that a lot of them could do the voice justice. So I don't think they're going to have to necessarily age it. But the thing that got me the most excited was actually seeing the Marvel Studios and the X-Men logo like in the same picture.
Yeah.
And there were there's a few obvious changes as well. So there was also a picture that came out with a little cast of people at the bottom. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, so there's one that's got not the cast as such, but the characters, sorry.
Yeah.
And Jean Grey's got her hair down, whereas obviously in the series she had it tied up. So there are slight little changes. But I thought it made perfect sense as to why Hasbro all of a sudden dropped the
new cell shaded
the cell shaded figures, because they are gonna just go through the roof, aren't they?
Definitely.
But yeah. But no, I'm hang on. This is the one I'm checking.
Oh, I've just seen this now. We got this covered thing. I think that was that. Yeah, because is this the one where we're looking at like Storm has now got a mohawk kind of thing going on, a bit like her 80s sort of look.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't see the mohawk.
Oh, but this song we got this covered. So this could be complete tosh anyway, but you know.
Yeah.
Marvel.com.
So Norm Spencer, who played Cyclops in the original series, has actually passed away. So he passed away in 2020. And that was the one that I was double checking. So obviously he's a main character in the series. So obviously they're going to have to either get somebody that can do the voice justice or can, I don't know, like, so they
don't seem to like doing that in the MCU. I've noticed they like when Black Panther passed away, they kind of said no one's going to replace Chadwick Boseman. He is Black Panther. So I think the fans of the 1970s series like us, I don't think we would accept anybody else in that voice role. Surely not. That voice is so iconic to our childhood. It's like,
but then how are they gonna? Yeah, but how are they gonna do X-Men without Cyclops?
Well, it's a new cast, a new generation. Wolverine could be the new leader, or Jean Grey Storm could be the new leader.
Yeah. I just think it's characters. When you think of the animated series X-Men, it is all about Cyclops, Wolverine, and Jean Grey having that triangle. And I think if they didn't, even if it was done out of respect for Norman Spencer and not including the Cyclops character predominantly as much, I just don't think the fans would buy into it if they just kind of wrote him off. But then if you look at the what if, certain characters like Robert Downey Jr., they just got somebody else to voice. And obviously people kicked off because it wasn't really them, but I don't know. It's it'll be an interesting one. I mean, I'm massively excited. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And it's just, I think the thing that got me the most is that I loved it when I was younger. I introduced my kids to it when it was put on Disney Plus, and started watching it with them. And now together we can look forward to a new season, if that makes sense. And that's just mind blowing.
Because I'm hoping to do something because I remember in the original series of stuff, they kind of did each episode was different, but there was a backstory that ran continually through the whole program. I hope that's kind of continued and not these just ad hoc episodes. Each one's different based on a different character, based on that timeline. I hope they don't go down that route, because that's the wording on some of the press releases was it's episodes based on the 97 timeline. I'm like, I hope it's like another series, just like it was back in the day, where we've got a cohesive storyline going on. I don't want it to just be, oh, this is Storm and now she's going to Wakanda. And
no,
I don't want that.
Well, it was one of the first animated shows that actually kind of called in commitment. Well, crossed over with other things, but also committed to another, like, I can't remember the terminology of it, but basically had that running narrative throughout
serial
episodes.
sort of arc.
Whereas so many other TV shows at the time, or that predated it, were very much those episodes just, oh, here we are, we're with He-Man again, and he's on this adventure. And whereas X-Men was one of the first to actually introduce that kind of idea of you need to commit and you need to watch it all the way through. So I know I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. I think it will be brilliant. And I think from when I spoke to Cal Dodd, like, from my understanding is that the cast were all so passionate about it as a project and as a time of their life and stuff. I think that they're all going to bring their A game, and it will be a lot of fun to watch and listen. And I'm excited.
What if, because obviously I remember the last couple of seasons. Not the final season, but it was the season before, wasn't it? There was a lot of crossovers. There was the Secret War storyline, and they did a lot of crossovers with Spider-Man, Hulk, Fantastic Four, Captain America. How cool would it be if they do a crossover storyline in that, where they brought maybe the voice of Spider-Man back, and I'd give him an episode with them?
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's got to be in the pipeline. If they've done X and it does well, surely next is Spider-Man. Bring back 100%. The 97 Spider-Man.
I'm sure I read somewhere that the actor that plays Spider-Man was cast for No Way Home as well. I'm sure. Maybe I'm making this up, but I'm sure he was cast for. Or I don't know. Maybe I'm
Spider sense is tingling.
Yeah, I'm sure I read that somewhere. But you're right. It would be good. So that was the big one for me. That was the bit that really made me pop. And that was it, I think, for Marvel, wasn't it? That was everything. That was all of it. But yeah, I just think it's very exciting. I think it's cool. I think it's there's a lot of exciting things in the pipeline. And like you said, we've still got all the Star Wars stuff to come. So there is all still that as well. And
this was only Disney Plus. This does not include studios. These are just the TV series that are coming out. Marvel have still got a boatload of movies coming out that they've announced. So, I mean, the storylines are going to get really in depth now.
Oh yeah, and it's you can imagine somebody, can't you, at the studio kind of going, who was it that thought back in like 2002, whatever it was, with Iron Man, tying all these stories, who thought that was a good idea? Because this is just nuts to try to keep track of everything that's going on. It's very much how it is in the comic books, like, that you have to kind of know what took place all those years ago in order to kind of write a good story. I must admit, a little plug here for Marvel Unlimited. I don't know if you're a subscriber to Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah, I'm here.
But it's got to be the best kind of, what is it, £8 a month or something?
£8 a month for the stupid amount of comic book history.
It's like $10 or like £8, whatever. But it's just fantastic. And I've really jumped into it in the last kind of 4 weeks, maybe. Really kind of just jumped into it.
I've been reading them on my I've been reading them on my Kindle for a long time. I've got my big Kindle Fire and I use it on that. And I've been reading them on there for a long time.
Yeah,
great service.
I must admit, it's only in the last kind of 12 to 18 months where I've started to sell off a load of my comic books that were taking up too much space and stuff like that. And I kind of was like, you know what? I've got the digital option, so I'm going to move into that and I'm going to clear up some space. And I just never really kind of delved into it too much. But yeah, maybe in the last 4 to 6 weeks, I've really just kind of fallen off the boat into Marvel Unlimited. And it's just amazing. And it is so good to, well, like I was saying about Marvel Zombies, as soon as that kind of came up, I was like, right, I need to go back and read Marvel Zombies. And I read it all in like, half hour or so. But
it's like when whenever they do a new film, like I remember when Guardians of the Galaxy 2 came out on the subscription service, they did this whole thing about the history of Guardians, and you could go back and look at those like tales of terror where Groot first appeared, and then the first ever the one with Rocket Raccoon in, I think it was what's the duck called? Howard the Duck comic, I think
Howard
he
the Duck,
first appeared in. And it's like it gave you all the original episode, like the original comics to read where these characters came from. And it's so cool to go back and read them.
Definitely.
They're comic books that would cost you lots of money to track down. So it's cool that they're just there for $8.99 a month digital. Brilliant.
But that was what I that originally was what sold me on it. Is I was like, there are certain comic books that I would never have the opportunity to read like properly. So, you know, even if I only subscribe to this for a month or two, I can read those comic books that I would never get my hands on. And here I am, however many months later, still subscribed and still reading. But it is, it's a brilliant service, absolutely brilliant service. And they did that with the Eternals as well. Actually, when that came into cinemas, they put up the reading list for Eternals. So
because I use it as well. I'm not sure about yourself, but I like to use it obviously as doing the toy reviews and stuff. It's great to be able to pick up a character now like Marlon. I've got no idea about that dude, but by the time I get around to doing his review in a few days' time, I'll have read several of his back issues of stories about his origins and stuff, and I'll be able to talk about it a bit more better. I like that.
I must admit, and this is no disrespect to anybody that this might apply to, but I'm so surprised with comic books at your fingertips like this. I'm so surprised there's not more toy collectors that do that. That makes sense. That, you know, there are so many people out there that you see it on the groups where people kind of post something and like, oh, I don't know who this dude is, but, you know, is it worth any money, or should I pick this one up? And it's kind of like, you know what, just go on Marvel Unlimited and read a couple of issues and you'll know whether you like that character or not. And it's like, and that's why I've got all the ones that I've got, because there isn't a character that I've come across yet that I can't justify having a figure for. But yeah, it's just a brilliant service, absolutely brilliant service. Which kind of leads me nicely onto, I suppose, our little feature of this episode. Obviously, you may or may not have caught my my interview earlier on in the week with Agent M himself. I got to do a Behind the Toys episode with Ryan Penagos from Marvel, who is the VP and creative executive at Marvel Comics or Marvel Entertainment. And we did a Behind the Toys episode with him. And it's a great watch, if I can say so myself. He tells us a lot about his own collections and his own kind of journey into Marvel. And he very kindly agreed to come along and join us this week for the Geek Week in Review, which was really cool. So obviously we pre-recorded it because, you know, it's not live. We're not doing this live. Time differences and that kind of stuff. So I think we'll cut to that. And Ryan was around for that one. So Ryan does join in on that one. So yeah, unless you want to introduce anything about it, Sorrell, we can cut to that.
No, here's Ryan Penagos.
Hello, Ryan, aka Agent M. Thank you very much for joining us this week on the Geek Week in Review.
My pleasure.
It's great to speak to you again. So let's talk a little bit about your podcast, because obviously your podcast, the 10-year strong This Week in Marvel, the official Marvel podcast. How's that been for 10 years? I mean, that's...
You know, we were at New York Comic Con in 2011, and someone in the crowd, a fan, was just like, "Hey, are you guys going to do podcasts again? I would like another official Marvel podcast." And I was like, "Yes, we will." and so I went back, and that was on a weekend, and we were we had a panel for Marvel Digital Media. And so the next week I was like, all right, we're going to do a podcast and let's figure out what we're going to do. Because we had previously at Marvel had something called the Mighty Marvel podcast, which was an interview based show by Jeff Sutter, who is one of Marvel's art directors. And he's great. He's wonderful. He's been at Marvel for a long, long time, but he just decided he didn't want to do that anymore. So I wanted something, and I am someone like, I want to give people everything about Marvel, what's going on, because we have comics, movies, games, television, action figures. Like, there's always something happening from Marvel. And so there's a lot of news and a lot of things that you might miss. And there's a lot of people who love Marvel. So really, I sort of like galvanized and put all that stuff together to say, all right, we're going to do something called This Week in Marvel, because that's a pretty easy title to remember, and it'll cover whatever's happening that week. And it's mostly focused on the things that are happening that we're excited about. And we started it November 4th, 2011, and have not missed a single week. We've put out episodes every week sometimes we've had 2 or 3 episodes a week, but every week we guarantee an episode will come out, through, chaos, through pandemics, through superstorms in the New York area, through everything else. It's important for me to make sure we get stuff out because there's always something happening this week in Marvel.
Of course, that is. I mean, it's such a good show. I mean, and the chemistry that you have with obviously co-hosts and your guests and stuff, and there is so much content out there for Marvel. It's a real kind of, I've said this before, but it's a real kind of go-to for me to kind of pick up on what's going on this week in Marvel.
Thanks.
It says it all on the tin, doesn't it?
It does, and it's important, it is an official Marvel podcast, so we are sort of like, we're biased about stuff, but Lorraine, myself, James is our other co-host. The three of us, we're genuinely fans of Marvel. We love the stories and the characters, and so it's easy for us to talk about the things that we're excited about every week, and it makes it a lot of fun.
Of course, I think
that totally comes across as well, because when you listen to it, it totally comes across that you guys are fans. Every time I've kind of tuned in and sort of listened, it like when you're talking about the Morbius recently, and you're referring to the you always do like the read list for people that are on the app, so you can go ahead and catch up on that character if you're not overly familiar and learn more about the character. I love that kind of stuff. But you guys genuinely talk about it passionately, which I know you say sometimes it comes, you're going to be biased because you work for Marvel, but I don't see that. I just see that you guys are just super fans of Marvel anyway.
Well, I'm glad. And, like that sort of perspective is super important for me to hear, just because I get in my head sometimes, like, I don't want to be a shill, but at the same time, like, this is just something I dig. It's something I enjoy. I get paid to get excited about the characters that I've loved for almost 35 years. Like, come on, man, it rules.
Yeah. I think me and Jacob definitely feel that, because I mean, like, when we obviously get things from Hasbro, Marvel, Disney, whatever, to sort of like plug and review, I'm genuinely excited by these things, and I think my excitement comes across the videos. But then on the other hand, you feel like some people are like, oh, you're just a shill for Hasbro. It's like, no, I genuinely love these things. Look at my room.
It is.
I had to get it in every time. It's like, oh, when me and Jacob get sent stuff from Hasbro, and it's so difficult. And I'm sitting there going like, I'll pay for this stuff, and I'm still talking good.
Look, me too. I will talk about, I mentioned Transformers on the show. I spend far too much money on my Transformers addiction or my video games or whatever it is. And I think that's part of what we do. And we have the leeway to, like, we also talk about just our lives, the things that we love about, I just read Elvira's book, and, I was like, man, I want to get Elvira on the show. I want to get, get her to come on This Week in Marvel, because I talk about the book on the show, and it's really good. And, like, generally it's just like, this is an outlet for us in our lives. And also Lorraine's a good friend of mine, and I get to hang out with her for, an hour every week, just shooting the crap about Marvel stuff. It's fun.
Yeah. I think that's we've only been going with ours for 21 weeks now. This will be episode 22. But we totally get that. I mean, even just after this short amount of time, we see it very much as it's our kind of hour to just talk about everything that we're into. So, there's the goal.
More than an hour.
Yeah. so 10 years as a goal. But I must admit, one other thing I must commend you on with the podcast is that, yes, it's labeled and advertised very much, the official Marvel podcast and This Week in Marvel. But one thing I really love about it is that you talk about everything, like, and you'll have a writer on that will start talking about DC or Star Wars or Transformers, and the conversation just goes. And even recently in the Halloween episode, like sort of the Halloween leading up to Halloween, talking about the horror films that you've been watching in Halloween. And it's so nice that it's not kind of just strictly no, we're just going to keep it in the bracket of what Marvel has produced, because I think that's what makes it so relatable. And I think that's probably a lot of the success, that people tune in and they just love hearing what's going on across all platforms. So yeah, keep that bit up, because I really love that. It's just
thanks. And I think about the three of you. It's like, one of you is a huge Star Wars person, one of you is a huge Marvel Legends person, one of you is huge Transformers, and like those things inform who you are, how you talk about things, and it's part of it's personality. It's like your perspectives, and I think as you build an audience, you have a community, your community connects with you in certain ways. And when they say, when I say, oh yeah, I just watched, the Halloween H2O leading up to Halloween, and someone listening will be like, I just watched that movie too. are we best friends now? And I'm like, yeah, but it's not the best Halloween movie, so no. Or whatever it is, you know, and it's always going to be like
Jason
that.
X, let's be honest. So
I love Jason X.
Thank you. It's so bad it's good.
Yes,
it's the sci-fi film I didn't want, but I need.
Yeah, I used to work at the Blockbuster video chain here in the States, and when that was coming out on DVD, I'm pretty sure I was working there because there was copies everywhere. So I watched it so many times. I have a big affinity for that movie. It's ridiculous.
Isn't H2O the one where Busta Rhymes tries to kung fu Michael Myers in the end? Is that one where he's in the basement like, whoa?
Yeah. It's a
Fry.
No, that's
Which one's that's Busta Rhymes.
No, that's
Resurrection.
That's Resurrection.
Is that Resurrection? Oh man,
they're like their own little sub timeline because there's like that weird flow chart of like all the different timelines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My wife and I decided we wanted to watch all the Michael Myers Halloween movies this year because we had heard good things about the reboot and we hadn't watched it, and then Halloween Kills was coming out, and I didn't realize because I hadn't watched anything past 3, and 3 is an annual watch for me. Halloween 3 is one of my favorite movies because it's absolutely insane and I love it. And so we ended up watching, and she had never seen the original, so we watched 1, 2, and then we're like, well, let's just keep going, because then I was like, oh, there's alternate timelines. Me as someone who loves alternate universes, like my favorite comics are What If comics, and I'm for you, Ryan, it's like I'm reading Shattered Glass stuff right now, and like I love that kind of like diverging pathlines storytelling. And so we watched every single Halloween movie this year. It was a lot.
Michael Myers with Infinity Gauntlet. That's what I want to see. And then goes like this.
I got to ask you then.
Scream, everyone.
I've got to ask you, Ryan. So in 10 years, obviously you tend to have a guest on pretty much every episode. I think you know there's always somebody. Has there ever been anybody that's kind of you've fanboyed a little bit, or that's really kind of the guest that you were hoping to get?
Yeah, you know, we've had people from everywhere, right? And so. I don't know. There's definitely been fanboy moments. I had Alfre Woodard on the show a couple years ago because she was promoting Marvel's Luke Cage show when she was on. And we had like the cameras were, because we were doing a video of it and the cameras weren't rolling. And I said to her an aside, and I was being very honest with her. I was like, I watch Scrooged every year on Christmas Eve because it's a movie about hope, and I don't have a lot of hope on Christmas because of certain things in my past. And so Scrooged means a lot in the story of your character and the other characters in that movie. And it was like she got emotional and I got emotional. It was really sweet. And it was like this wonderful thing. And I have this opportunity to share something special with people whose work that I just love in a lot of cases. And, you know, I get to do really fun things. So that was something special. I don't know. Fanboying, I'm sure I have, but like I've been at Marvel for 15 years. I was in like entertainment journalism for 3 years before that. So like I've gotten kind of used to a lot of, you know, being around quote unquote celebrities a lot. And so there's a normalization of that. And it's more just like, hey, how you doing? You know, I love your work. Let's chat. Let's do stuff. Like I had great moments that we had Danzig on, Glenn Danzig, the musician, on years ago, and like just talking with him, and he's a character, but he was telling a story about how he lived with Jack Kirby and Roz Kirby for a little while when he went out to LA, and it was just like, what? And like really cool stuff like that. I got Marvel to pay for me to get a tattoo one year as part of the podcast. It's hard to see with the microphone stand right here. This tattoo is from our comic book series War of the Realms, which I'm a huge fan of. And so I was able to get Marvel to pay for me and the writer Jason Aaron to go get tattoos tied to the comic book. And we recorded a podcast episode at the tattoo parlor where I always go for my work. And we did some videos and stuff. And I was like, I just got Marvel to pay for me to get a tattoo. I think I win life. That's gotta be like a game over screen. Like I did it.
That's like that's a special, like, you know, special unlock. Like that's
that's the kill screen.
That's incredible.
That's a stretch goal. That is.
Yeah.
So we spoke as well, let's kind of move a little bit over, about our take on things. We spoke outside of obviously the call about spoilers. There's loads of films, the MCU is just going from strength to strength. But it's not just the MCU, there are so many different franchises out there with huge movies. But something that's predominant in this kind of day and age with the internet and being able to share stuff is leaks and spoilers. So us three always have kind of a debate, because one of us, it will tend to be either me or Sorrell will get sent something ahead of it being released. So it'll be a screenshot or sometimes a poster or sometimes even like a trailer, like a full-on sort of link to a trailer or something. And with the hope that we're going to share it, or we're going to kind of credit this person as, and you can understand it. And we have this debate with Ryan as in, right, this spoilers out there on the internet. Do we discuss it? Are we keeping it to ourselves? Like, it's out there. We're not kind of breaking anything. I would never want to be that person that kind of broke something out, because I just think that's completely disrespectful to the art and to the work that's been put in, etc. But obviously Ryan likes to kind of cover his ears and pretend that the spoilers aren't out there. But I've kind of become a little bit kind of hardened to it. I kind of, it doesn't ruin a movie for me, for example. Like, without going into too much details, I know, Ryan, we spoke about the Eternals. I'm not going to get to see it until the weekend, but I know what happens post credits because it was sent to me, and I'm not going to let that ruin the film for me. And I'm kind of excited a little bit to see that. Would I have preferred to have seen it kind of in the way that it was intended? 100%. What's your take on spoilers? I think I know where this is going to go, but what's your take on spoilers and that kind of thing?
So I'll backtrack and relay a story. So I used to, my first job in all this sort of world that I'm in now was I was a writer for Toy Fair magazine, and then I got a job being an editor for Wizard magazine in 2003. And at 2003, one of the biggest comics going at that time was Batman Hush. Jeff Loeb, Jim Lee, great big mystery comic. It was really cool. And when I joined the staff, that it must have been the summer or late summer of that year, we had our first meeting where I was on staff, and I sat down with the group. We were starting to plan the next issue, blah, 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 blah. I'm young, I'm 22 at that point. So sit down, I'm like all eager and excited and ready to do it. And they start talking about the ending of Batman Hush. And they talk about who Hush is and the story and how that will play out and how that factors into the magazine. And I went, wait, what? No. And I'm like upset because I didn't want it spoiled for me. And Andy Serwin, who is great, he was a great editor, really helped me out in my time, like learning my craft. He, big guy, he's like 6'4", huge, giant of a man. He sticks his finger in my face. He goes, "Shut the F up. Everything you ever love will be spoiled for you from now on. Deal with it." And like that, my first meeting as a 22-year-old, and a big like point of enjoyment for me gets spoiled. And I stop and I go, huh, okay. And that was it. And I realized at that point, if I'm working in this industry, whether it's comics or movies, television, probably everything I love that I get enjoyment out of, if I'm touching it for work, will be spoiled for me. Mm-hmm. And 18 years later, that is the truth. Every Marvel thing is spoiled for me because I have to work on it. I have to, in some way, shape, or form, have to help support it or do content around it. And months and months and months or years and years ahead of time, I will know the story beats, the endings, the characters, the tie-ins, and of course, there's stuff that I don't know everything, but pretty much everything that we do at Marvel has been spoiled for me years ahead of time. And so with that in mind, I have a very deep appreciation for not getting spoiled on the things that I love, that I don't have to work on. And I really think that when you are someone who has everything spoiled for you too early, you find ways to enjoy it. I still love everything we do when I love what we do in all the different ways, but I get there's something special about being surprised and being like delighted and just going, oh my God, what was that? What did I just see? Whether it's a Star Wars thing or it's, Godzilla or Transformers or whatever fandom thing I have, that I have a deeper appreciation for that ability to not be spoiled. And so I truly, like, I will say, anybody out there, steer clear of the spoilers if you can. If in any way, shape, or form, just find a way to get that surprise, because it's the way it was intended by the creators, and also you will have a better appreciation for it in the long run.
That's an amazing
Jake,
way of looking at it.
Do me a favor, Jake. Do not now have a big bit in the video where you go, Ryan, now you do this thing, everything's going to be spoiled for you.
Ryan, I'm just going to take that. It's going to be my message tone to Ryan from now on.
No,
whenever I message him, it will be that.
No, I agree though, because the thing about the spoiler thing is like I said, even if I do find it out, it doesn't mean I enjoy it less. Like I still absolutely love it. But there's so little mystery left in the world now that we've got access to everything, that I want to be able to, like you said, have that little moment of surprise where, like, when I saw Solo, there was a particular character that appears at the very end. And because I really had no idea, I actually honestly felt like a child again. That bit where you watch something like on video for the first time, and that little bit where you're like, and you can't breathe for those brief seconds because you're so excited about something. I really had that. And that's what I really just, even though, like I said, I would have enjoyed it just as much seeing it, but that few seconds of complete suspended disbelief and took me back to being a child. That's why I try and avoid spoilers as much as possible.
Yeah,
I think for me, like I've grown up reading the comic books since being a young kid. So I mean, going into films like Infinity War, you know where that's heading from the moment you've sat down. And when you hear people going, when the snap happens, you're like, come on, that's it. We know this is gonna go down.
Yeah,
it's like
you do, but at the same time, there's twists and turns, and what they do, I think, credit to the Marvel Studios filmmakers and creatives. They take you on journeys where maybe you don't always know which way they're going to go. Like, there's a lot of possibilities, and they take some really incredible chances and storytelling, divergences. And I think Infinity War and Endgame really do have some really cool changes to what I think, long-term fans would have conceptions of.
But what I'm trying to say is, like, what I'm trying to get, like, sorry, trying to say is, like, knowing that information going in doesn't affect my enjoyment or excitement for that. So just knowing that something's going to be shown or going to happen in a film, sometimes will get me even more excited to go see it, if that makes sense. Like, if I know a certain somebody is going to show up at the end of a movie, I'll be sat there through the whole film going, come on, bring him on. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'll be more giddier than ever knowing that's coming. The first Marvel Studios film was Marvel Studios Iron Man, and I was working at Marvel at the time, and we had our company screening. And I remember sitting next to my friend who was one of the comic book editors, and I slapped him. I was like, that was good. Oh my God, thank God, it was good. It was great. It was awesome. And credits roll, beautiful credits, lights come up. Okay, cool. Then we see on the news that weekend, who's Nick Fury? What does Nick Fury mean to Iron Man? And we're like, wait, Nick Fury was in the movie? What? And they hadn't told us. I didn't know about that. And it wasn't on our version of the film because we saw it too early. And so I was like, there was like every emotion flowing through me of like, this thing I didn't know about and I didn't get to see, but I should have been able to see. Admittedly, when we were I remember going to the cinema to see that film, I was walking out, and then all of a sudden the music sort of stops, and you get the credits stop, and you just hear that distinctive Samuel L. voice going, Tony. And I remember just turning around going, who's that? And just seeing the eye patch, the trench coat. And I remember freaking out. I must have been about 14, 15. I was freaking out, man. That he was in that film.
That was an incredible moment. It really was.
I ask a little Marvel question just because I want to know if anyone's seen it. So, and I think, Ryan, you're my best chance to know. And don't worry, this is not like fireable level questions. Jake looks really nervous for a second.
I am a little bit worried.
Like, cut the feed. Yeah. So Endgame, that little film there. Endgame, that little film they did. Have you seen the footage of the Kraglin shot? Like with them, because I don't know if it's true or not, but there was this shot with Kraglin in the kind of the epic fight sequence bit at the end, and apparently he was going to be on like a a spaceship sort of motorbike, I think, and he had Hondo's horn, like fin and the arrow. I've just wondered because like it's not on any of the Blu-rays and stuff, but I think I've seen like some behind the scenes pictures. I'm just wondering if you have any access to maybe some stuff that we don't get to see, like even older films that have been out for a while. If you ever see any things that we maybe don't get to see.
Well, I do get to see versions of the movies early that are unfinished and sometimes different. But they're, sometimes they're unfinished. And so I don't know, especially like that scene. I remember we did some really great content around the portal scene for some of our Marvel stuff on YouTube, but that was really like diving into the VFX of it all and like how they did it. Honestly, I don't remember, just because it's a couple years ago, and hence the title of my show, This Week in Marvel. There's a lot of Marvel stuff that happens every week, and so I couldn't tell you definitively one way or another.
No, it was worth a go. It was worth a go.
It's such an interesting take on it, though, Ryan. I'd never looked at it that way, and just to I hadn't even thought that everything Marvel has been spoiled for you in that respect. And that's like I take my hat off to you, because even the things that I think what Sorrell was trying to get to was the story arcs and the kind of direction of certain things that we kind of expect to happen. It's things like when Captain America was worthy in and that first scene where the hammer flies back and that was the solo sort of moment for me, because I hadn't heard anything about that, and being in a room with kind of however many 100 people were in there for that seat and being part of that atmosphere, I don't think there's anything I would trade for that feeling. And it's so I have a real admiration for you, because it's kind of, you think, work at Marvel, like what an amazing job, but man, I kind of feel a little bit sorry for you now.
No, and don't. That's not my point at all. My point is, I have learned over the years to truly find a different appreciation for the stories and the craft, and there are surprises in some of these things, because there are things that change or from when I learn, or things that I just wasn't deemed necessary to know, or whatever. So I will have some surprises, but generally, like, a lot of the mystery is taken away, and that's okay for me. I've come to terms with that. It's part of the job. I have a great job. I get to do really cool stuff. It is well worth it. My point being, it's like, if you don't have to have these things spoil for you for your work, don't. It's so much better to just enjoy them and get to see and experience a movie in theaters and like be surprised by it and go along with those rides. It's really something special.
Oh, 100% agree with you.
For me, it was hearing Spider-Man say, when he was getting snapped away, and that moment where he hugs Iron Man and stuff, that was wrenching in the cinema. I remember seeing that cinema, that was heart wrenching. I don't want to go. It's like, don't do that.
I am same. So before obviously we let you go, Ryan, is there anything upcoming on your show that you can talk about, or that you want to obviously kind of give us guys over here on this side of the pond kind of the heads up that to tune in? Anything that you're excited about that you're allowed to talk about that's coming up?
Well, by the time this episode comes out, Disney Plus Day will have happened, so that'll be really fun.
So let's talk about Disney Plus. No, I'm only joking.
Look, if nothing else, everybody can experience Marvel Studios Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings in the comfort of their home. There's all the 13 films that are now also have IMAX aspect ratio enhancements in there that you can watch. Like, there's some really cool stuff. It's every week is, we've got tons of content and we've got guests coming. I don't know if anybody's a wrestling fan, but we have Big E, who's WWE champion, on the show real soon. It might be this week or next week. We've got an episode with the writers for Marvel's Hit Monkey, which
brilliant.
I love it.
It looks
so much
brilliant. Yeah.
Hit Monkey is, and I joked to them, I was like, I can't help it. The saying that something is bananas is just part of my vernacular. But it is, I can't wait for people to be like, what the hell did they do? It's so good. Hit Monkey is so good. So we have folks from Hit Monkey and we're gonna have a big fun end of the year episode where we have some fun guests on. You know, we've got so much stuff, and like we're the amazing people at Marvel Studios come on the show every once in a while, whether we're going to be talking about Marvel Studios Hawkeye or the upcoming films. We do a lot of behind the scenes stuff with them from time to time. So there's that. There's also the comic stuff and video game stuff, and there's a lot of Marvel things happening all the time.
It's, yeah. I mean, if you know anybody that is listening that is a fan of Marvel, if they're not already listening to your podcast, then they are missing out. They need to tune in because, as you say, it just covers so much. And as I said, for me personally, it was the thing that sold the Guardians of the Galaxy game to me. Like, I was on the fence and I was going to get it at some point, but after listening to a particular episode where you kind of delved in, there you go, it's there. It was the kind of, no, I need to go and get this, so I'm picking it up this weekend. But yeah, it's a brilliant show, and just thank you, really, just thank you for giving us a platform for 10 years. I've not listened to it for 10 years. I'm not going to pretend that I have, but for giving us that platform and just sharing that kind of stuff with us, because it's brilliant. So as a fan, it's great to hear.
I truly appreciate it. I will get messages from listeners every once in a while, especially like newer listeners who's like, really enjoying the show, decided to start at number 1. And I'm like, no, please don't. We're like different humans 10 years ago. I'm a different person. Like, the terrible product. We truly started recording the show 10 years ago in a storage closet at Marvel with just like a Zoom recorder and 2 microphones we held with our hands, and just went and figured it out from there. The show is, we have amazing producers now and actual people who know what they're doing to make things sound good, where all I have to do is sit in front of a microphone and make dumb jokes for an hour. You know, it's like, it's a lot of fun. I would never bemoan anyone who doesn't want to start at the beginning, because God, that's rough. But we also, in our archives, we have 520 some odd numbered episodes weekly, so it's 10 years straight of episodes. But we also have another like 400 episodes that are not in that numerical order, of like interviews with celebrities and Marvel fans and musicians and sports heroes, and like behind the scenes things of just like, oh, here's another, when one week we had like 5 guests come by the office, and we said, well, we'll just like record a bunch of interviews and release them however we can. They don't necessarily all have to be one episode. We ended up putting out a ton of content. I don't know how many thousands of hours I've talked for Marvel, but it's probably like more than anyone else in the history of Marvel has talked officially for Marvel on a recorded medium.
That's
really weird
all the time with Ryan.
That is it. That is a time. Well, listen, I think that is a perfect note to let you go on, because for the person that's talked the most about Marvel on any medium ever, Ryan, aka Agent M. Please do go and check out This Week in Marvel on all podcast streaming sites and stuff. And do check out Ryan across social media at Agent M. Ryan, thank you very much for joining us on the Geek Week in Review, and we'll catch you very soon.
Thanks, fellas. It was a blast.
So there we go. I really enjoyed having him on the show, both between Behind the Toys and the Geek Week in Review.
It was really awesome to talk to like him about it, because he's so passionate about what he does. And I think that's really cool. And obviously, I never thought of it the way he sort of says about the spoilers thing, and that he knows everything that's going to happen, and that kind of spoils everything to do with Marvel for him. I can't, as much as I love to know things, I can't imagine never being able to pick up a comic book again and knowing that not like what's happening in that comic book beforehand. You know what I mean?
No, it's
having every little thing spoiled for you must be crazy.
Yeah. Now it's even just little things, because obviously we recorded this with him before Disney Plus Day, as he says about, Disney Plus Day would have aired. And it's even just little things about knowing that animated X-Men is coming back. I know we just talked about it before the interview, but if I had known that 6 months ago, I don't know. It's very Matrix, isn't it? It's that red and blue pill, and kind of, would I love to work would I love to have a role like his? Hands down, I'd love to do a job. It must be so interesting to kind of know all those inner workings of Marvel, and especially being the amount of time that he's been there. You know, been there sort of for 15 years, and that covers the kind of their journey back up, because obviously they had a dark period, didn't they? There was facing bankruptcy at one point. So he's obviously seen that journey go from quite a vulnerable position to a really strong, powerful position. So I'd love to kind of have been part of that, but would I want that enough to know everything there was to know about Marvel? I don't know. But he is a great guy. Obviously, as I'm sure, I'll put the link in the description for the podcast. This Week in Marvel is the official Marvel podcast. I will put the link in the description below. Do check it out. I love listening to it when I'm in a car. And I'm not just saying that because he's on the show. It is actually a really cool podcast. Yeah, it was just really nice to chat to him. Really nice guy.
We have spoken to a man who has met Stan Lee. I'm just putting it out there. We've spoken to a man this week who has spoken to Stan Lee. Just putting that out there.
Yeah,
we know a dude who knew Stan. My God, that's amazing.
6 steps of separation and all that like that. That is quite cool. And we didn't actually talk to him about any of that side of it, did we? He's a big Kirby fan, though. I know he's a massive Kirby fan. Like, we talked a lot about Jack Kirby and all that side of it.
Right, so Kirby is
that's
equally as responsible as much as we all Stan's an awesome guy, but Kirby is equally as responsible for a lot of the characters we love.
Oh yeah. I mean, it is one of them, there's, without going down the rabbit hole of that, because it's always a debate, isn't it? Whenever somebody mentions Stan on it, it's almost become kind of fashionable for people to kind of go, oh no, it's not Stan Lee, and then list off a handful of other people. But there are so many people that are responsible for so much that we love about that franchise, about that company, about that, but even like Ryan, do you know what I mean? It's what he's been responsible for and been involved in, and there are people that wouldn't necessarily know who he is, if that makes sense. So, there are so many, but it's Stan's the face, isn't he? He's the face when you think of Marvel.
Yeah. The Merry Marvel Marching Society, what it called back in the day.
That's it.
That right?
That's it. But no, he is. Ryan was a lovely guy to have on the show. Really, really did appreciate him taking the time out to join us on the Geek Week in review. Whatever guest we have on next is going to have very big boots to fill. Because how do you follow
the vice president of Marvel?
Of the digital.
Welcome back, David.
No disrespect, David. But that was.
He's going to kill me for that reference. He's going to kill me for that reference when he hears this.
Of course he is. But if you are interested to hear more from Ryan, or AKA Agent M, obviously you can check out his Instagram and his Twitter and stuff. You can also watch the Behind the Toys episode that I did with him, which is really cool. A little bit of an insight into him and his collecting. And also listen to the This Week in Marvel podcast, because it is really cool. It's a really cool, up-to-date, current what's going on in Marvel. But yeah,
before we round out today, have you gotten the Guardians of the Galaxy game yet?
No, I haven't. No.
I am like 40-50% of the way through now, and it is amazing. Please get it. I was very on the sidelines about getting this game, because I saw some of the things are like, oh, you only get to control Star-Lord, you don't get to take control of Groot or Rocket, and I'm a big Rocket fan, and I was like, well, that'd be cool to run around as a little raccoon firing guns, but no, you only play as Star-Lord. But I've loved that, and the idea that you have to, the fact that it's very. Have you played Mass Effect? Yeah. So very much in the style of that you're going around the ship and you have to make sure your crewmates are happy with you. Certain things you do and say will influence the story later, which is insane. Little things that you don't think about that you've done have massive repercussions down the line. It is such a well thought out, story driven game.
And one thing that's definitely sold it to me as well is that I was listening to This Week in Marvel, actually. That's where I heard it. And they were talking to, it's either the producer or the writer or something. And they talked about that there are certain characters on there that you might not interact with because they don't have anything to do with the story, and you could completely miss. But you could actually go through this door and interact with this whole kind of room of characters that have nothing to do with the narrative of the story, but have so much to do with the game, if that makes sense. So just that open world aspect of it as well. Just I'm 100% behind it. I think, if I'm honest, am I going to have time to play it between now and Christmas? Probably not. So am I probably going to get it for Christmas? Probably. I'll probably put it down as one of my Secret Santa kind of wish lists, kind of, oh yeah, get me that game.
I've got to say,
because I do want to play it.
They have changed it, so it's no longer in the 70s, it's now in the 80s. They've changed that aspect of it, and that Star-Lord was taken during the 80s, not the 70s. Is a different generation. But because I am an 80s to 90s kid, I find it more nostalgic, and I find the references are more to me, especially at the age he's in the game. I feel like more related to the character.
That's cool.
Like when he's in the very beginning of the game, he's in his bedroom and he's got Dungeons and Dragons dice. He's got posters of Aerosmith on his wall, and the fact that the soundtrack is all like 80s rock, like ballad music, is awesome. You sat there and you know that, you know every single song on it. Put it that way. If you're from our generation, you know that song. You know every song. They've made
like a full album of Star-Lord, like the fictional band as well, haven't they? Like they've done like a whole album, like, so you can become a fan of the band, the fictional band as well.
That is because in the game, very smart that they've done this, you can change the sound settings to a stream mode. So if you're a streamer like us and you want to put this game on your channel, you can flip it so that it doesn't play any music that requires a license, because they own the license to the Star-Lord brand. So they just play the Star-Lord tracks in the game that still match the gameplay and things that you're doing. They've been made with that in mind, but you won't get the Bon Jovi songs, the Aerosmith songs. They won't appear, because then you'll get licensing issues on your channel.
That's very clever.
And stuff. So they've very cleverly done that, which I think is a brilliant touch for modern gamers.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's really clever. What an amazing little touch they've done there. Yeah, no, I will get it. Maybe I'll get it before Christmas. Maybe I'll go and pick it up.
I just hyped you up now.
I'll just be out shopping for Christmas presents and accidentally get it.
There is something about when you do the huddle and he puts the cassette player in the air and presses play, and you start killing some enemy to hit me with your best shot, and they're all slicing through air and it's all cutscene bits. It's awesome.
I can't wait. Every time I talk to someone about it, I'm like, yes, I'm going to go and get it. Like,
and you get all the stupid things like Drax going, why is this lady telling us to hit things with her best shot? And like, just his stupid humor, Rocket going, just keep hitting them, group. There's all the little, it's brilliantly done.
Yeah,
because even though it's comic book based, they've kept Drax as quiet like he's in the MCU. They've kept him very much the gormless,
very dry kind of.
So yeah, he does do the same sort of humor of, should I get them, Quill? I'll go and pick up this big rock and throw it. And he's very like muscle bound stupid, but it's funny as.
Oh, brilliant. I can't wait. Cool. All right, then, Sorrell. Well, I think that rounds us up. What an awesome episode. I'm not going to lie. That was jam-packed. Like special guest from Marvel, Disney Plus Day, just everything at once. So
it was a very marvelous episode.
It was very marvelous.
Insert cricket noise here.
It was very Marvel heavy, though. Let's be fair. It was very, very Marvel heavy. Do you think we'll see this trailer before next week's episode?
Yeah.
I think it's coming this week.
I think it's a guaranteed thing. Monday, Tuesday, like we say, I think that's dropping. They've already put the teaser out, haven't they?
Yeah, my spider senses are definitely tingling. It's definitely coming this week, in my opinion. Okay, if you are listening still and you have enjoyed the show, then please do like, share, subscribe, and all of those things. All support to the channel and to the show is very much appreciated. Do check out the description below. I'm going to put in the links to obviously Ryan's channel, who's not here, but go give him a follow anyway. Just a little bit of moral support. Maybe we'll get him back for next week. No, he's there. Ryan, good. We'll look forward to having you back next week, mate. Obviously, put links to Sorrell's channel. If you don't already follow him, then make sure you do. Guy puts out some really cool content, and yeah, it's just constant. And I love the little Kenobi video that you put out today. Go and watch that. Even if you only watch one thing from Sorrell's channel based on this video, go and watch that. It's very, very funny.
And make sure you follow Jacob's Toys channel on YouTube, because he does put out some great content as well. The 5-minute reviews behind the toys. Make sure you give Jacob a follow too. He's very modest and doesn't like to say it, but please follow this channel as well.
I always forget. I always forget to say give me a follow. So yeah, do make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you follow. And if you are listening on podcast, it is very much appreciated. We are slowly creeping around in the podcast charts from time to time, which is really nice, and it's really cool to be out on that format. So if you are listening on podcast, then please do us a massive favor and share those, like them, download them, do all of those things that make podcasts. I think that's about everything, Sorrell. So until next week, keep it geek.